welcome to today's video. I'm going to say my birth story, give you my birth story. So I now have a son, and he was born in February, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of learning curves, and overall I am so incredibly blessed and thankful that God chose me to be the vessel to bring him into this world, and that he chose me to be his mom. Okay, so I ended up giving birth on a Wednesday. That week, I was not expecting to make it past like that weekend that was coming up. But he said, no, it's going to happen today. So, my husband and I had talked about like having, certain people with us at the birth center, because I did give birth in the birth center. And we had talked about it, and I was like, okay, I'll make sure I'll tell them, give them the inside, like what all is going to go on the day of or whatever. So backtrack to the previous Friday before I gave birth. I know it was in the early evening, maybe 5, 6 o'clock, and I was home and I was doing something, and that's when I had my very first real contraction. I was like, oh, I think there was a real contraction. And I happened to be going back and forth through text with my sister. So I was like, so I think I literally just had a real contraction. So, we was talking about it or whatever. And I was like, well, yeah, it was just the one random one that I felt, and that was it. I didn't feel anything else. All the rest were kind of like breasts and hicks, I guess, to me. I don't know. But yeah, so that's what it was. I don't really remember anything happening that Saturday. That Sunday was Super Bowl. It's home. I was excited to watch Usher. Okay, listen, I was excited. Usher has been boo since I was younger, and I was excited to see what songs he was going to perform and everything. So I was watching the Super Bowl on my laptop, and I, as much as I love to dance and I wanted to dance, I did keep my butt still. Well, I didn't keep it still, but I stayed seated during his performance, and I kind of did this a little bit, and in the seat and trying to do some of the dances without doing too much. But yeah, so I enjoyed the show. And then shortly after that, I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom. And when I got up, I felt so much pressure. I was like, what is that? So I'm like, and at first it felt like I really needed to go back to the bathroom. So it's okay. Went back to the bathroom again. Nothing came out. But when I stood up, I was like, ooh, mm-mm. So I sat back down again. So I just sat there for a little bit, and then it felt like it kind of went away. So I said, okay, let me try to, go back downstairs. I can finish watching the rest of the game. And yes. So yeah, try to go back downstairs and watch the rest of the game. And I got to the top of the steps, and I felt it again. I was like, "Oof, what is this?" So my husband, he was downstairs. He's like, "Please, can you not stand at the top of the steps?" And I was like, I'm trying." And he heard in my voice that I was having that pressure. So he came upstairs and he's just like, "What's wrong?" And I'm just like, "I'm having so much pressure down there. Like, I don't even know. Like, I couldn't even stand up straight." I was just like, "What the hell is going on?" But that's all I felt. Like, all I felt was pressure. Now thinking about it, I know exactly what was happening, but we'll get to that point. So, hey, what you doing? Mwah. So, it subsided a little bit where I was able to walk again. So he like helped me back down the steps. I ended up sitting on. Oh, you adding in your perspective from the inside, huh? Yeah. um, Ended up helping me down the steps, and then I ended up sitting on the yoga ball because it felt the best, because I was able to like sit kind of leaning forward in a sense with my legs like wide, because that's kind of what I was doing when I was sitting on the toilet. And yeah, so I was just sitting there. I was bouncing around, rotating like my hips back and forth, like in like circles or whatever. And then all of a sudden, I started having contractions again. But they weren't. Um, so where was I? So I started to have contractions. At this point, I didn't have anything. Oh, okay. I didn't have like an app or anything on my phone, so I had just grabbed my notebook that I had been writing like a bunch of different things in, and just kind of was jotting down every time I had it. And what I ended up realizing, I realized that I had contractions on that Sunday after the fact, because I didn't even remember that. Until I was like going through the book for something else. Yeah. And happened to see, and clearly that's what it was, like, because it was just a bunch of times. So I'm just like, oh, okay. So, I had a couple for the rest of the evening, like I think maybe the last one I may have written down was like around midnight, 1 o'clock or whatever, and then I know I went to bed. Fast forward to Monday. When I got up, I had to go to the bathroom, but my husband was in the bathroom, so I was waiting for him to come out the bathroom. So I was just sitting on the edge of the bed. So then when he came back out to the room, we was just talking or whatever, and I was like, all right, let me get up and go to the bathroom. So I got up, went to the bathroom. So then I heard him yell, "Babe, you start using the bathroom yet?" I was like, no. I was ready to sit down. He was just like, "I need you to come out here for a second." And I'm like, okay. So he was like, he's like, "I love you." And I was like, "I love you too. What's wrong?" He's like, nothing. I just want you to follow me." And I'm like, okay. So he grabbed my hand. We walked back into the bedroom. And he's like, "Look." And I look on the bed. And on the bed was my mucus plug. First off, that thing looks disgusting. When they say it looks like a big thing of snot, it does. That's exactly what it looked like. I said, "Oh, okay." So me and him looked at each other like, all right then. So he ended up calling his regional and was like, "Yeah, so she lost her mucus plug. I don't know what's about to happen, so I'm gonna stay home for a little bit. I lost my mucus plug." And I was just like, okay, that's cool. Don't recall having any other contractions or anything else that day. I did have an appointment that day, but we ended up running behind and missed it, so we had to reschedule for the following day, right? Yeah. So, that Tuesday, we had an appointment, and at that appointment, we pretty much talked about, you know, the what ifs. If I don't, you know, if I don't have him or be in labor at least by my, estimated due date, then this is what we're going to do. So we had set up for an appointment that following Tuesday after my due date. And at that appointment, we would have, tried a couple of things like the castor oil, may or may not have done a cervical check. Because for me, I did not want to do those. So I never had a cervical check prior to actually going into labor. But we talked about that, and then we said, okay, if by that following, because my due date was Friday, if by that following Friday, if I didn't, if I hadn't started labor or had given birth already, then I would be induced because the birth center that I was at only can take me up to 41 weeks. So then I would have been technically at 41 weeks at that point. So we called the hospital and made sure, that they had the availability for me to come in that for that day. So they said, yeah, I would have came in the night before. And then we talked about like what we can do. Like we can start with like the balloon to like help dilate my cervix. And kind of what their take on Pitocin is and kind of like how they do it. The thing that I did appreciate about the birth center too is that whether if I decided to give birth in the hospital regardless, they still would have been in attendance. So say if whether I had needed to start like being induced at the hospital, or if something would have occurred during birth and then I needed to go to the hospital, a midwife will go with you, which was one of the things that I appreciate, especially considering like they had been a part of my care the entire time. And who wants to try to tell you what's going on and what's been going on with my care, or having my husband having to do that? Like, so I appreciated that. But we talked about that or whatever. We checked the baby's heart rate, measured my belly. We talked about any concerns that I had or whatever. And, that was really it. It was funny because I think after that Friday, I was trying to take pictures every day. I can't remember if I did or not, but anytime I remembered to, I try to take a picture every day because I'm just like, I don't know when's the last time this will be the last time, right? So, okay. So, in the meantime, I'm like, okay, this is getting real. Okay. And this is where it gets funny. Right? It gets funny. Did I tell you the story, baby? I don't think I told you the story. It gets funny because I had not fully packed the baby's diaper bag. And I had only started to take things out that I wanted to put in my bag that I needed to take. So at first, I was debating if I wanted to pack 2 separate bags or if I wanted to pack 1 bag, because at the birth center, you only are there for a couple of hours. You're not there like days like you are in the hospital. So I was unsure, but I ended up deciding that I was going to do 2 separate bags. So I had started like putting stuff in the diaper bag, like some wipes, and Pampers, because I had ordered those from Amazon. The Pampers that I wanted specifically for the newborn stage, I ordered those. And I had gotten some wipes as well as a gift, so I put those in there. I think that was all that was in the diaper bag. I think that was all that was in there. And then I had pulled my stuff out and kind of sat it on like the chair that I'm sitting on now, because I'm like, I know where it is. So just in case, we needed to run, I can say, hey, grab that or whatever. So that day, I had ended up ordering like a couple of sleepers for the baby, and then I had ordered something that I wanted to do like announcement pictures and stuff. Yes. And it was coming in, and I was like, oh, so some of the stuff that was coming in, I'm like, oh, and honor, because I'm just like, oh my god, this is so freaking little. So I had pulled out my phone to record a video for my one of my group threads, like with my sister and my two friends, and I was in there. What? I started recording the video, and no sooner did I hit record, I started having contraction. And I was like, ooh, ooh. In the video, you hear me go, ooh, 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 the hair, like. And I said, ooh, okay. And then I started talking to them. And this was like somewhere between noon and like 1 p.m. And it was kind of just like happening, but for me, it never seemed like my contractions fully went away. But at this, I'm like, okay, well, they always, like, from what I was reading and from talking about it with the midwives at the birth center and stuff, your early labor, you don't want to technically time those, or, kind of pay them any mind, because that is, I think, what adds to the mental exhaustion that women go through during birth. Yes. And so I was like, okay. So I was just kind of like breathing through it, like, let me do my work, opening my packages up. I said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start washing some stuff. Never got to it, but I pulled the stuff to the side. So okay, I'm gonna return that and put that over there. And I was having them, and I kept having them, and I was just like, I said, maybe I should download a timer. No. I said, let me call my husband. So I called them, and it's funny because anytime I call them, he's like, are you okay? As soon as he answers the phone, not no, hi babe, how you doing? Are you okay? So I start laughing. He's just like, what are you laughing for? I said, because of your response. So he's like, I'm just saying. I said, well, I just wanted to let you know that I started having contractions. I said, I haven't really been timing them. I said, but I am going to download an app to time them. So I can get a better sense of what's going on. And, I'll let you know. I said, but I think now, since I'm especially having contractions, I placed an order for Target pickup. Because I still needed to like get some of the postpartum like pads and stuff like that. So he's just like, okay. I said, all right, I'll let you know when I'm leaving. I'll let you know when I'm on my way back or whatever. He's like, okay. Unfortunately, when I ordered the stuff that I needed, it was at 2 different locations. So I went to the one which, when I looked at technically GPS and just thinking about my drive time, they're technically both the same exact like time away from my house. But I just felt like the one that I went to first was the furthest. So that's where I went. So on my way to go do my Target pickup, I'm still having the contractions. So I said, well, let me call the birth center to talk to the midwife on call and just let her know, like, hey, I'm starting to have contractions or whatever. Let them know. I think I did mention that my mucus plug had came out on Monday, but just let that person know that it came out or whatever, and then I'll keep them posted. So I had been waiting for them to call me back. They hadn't called me back. So I got my pickup order. But then I decided to go inside of the store. And at this point, I am having lots of pressure in my back and my butt. Okay? So if y'all can see the baby and how he's just like staring at me so intently while I'm talking about your birth. So yes, I was like, because I wanted to look at that Mustela no rinse stuff. And then I also was like telling my friends, like when I was doing that video earlier in the day, that I was going to go and buy, go look at the headbands in case the baby was a girl. Because if you guys didn't know, I did not find out what I was having until he was born. Like, that's how I found out. My husband said, babe, we have we had a boy. But that was my intent. I did not know the sex of the baby the entire pregnancy. So I said, well, let me go get some headbands in case. So I, went and found headbands, and I was in the aisle looking at the who selling stuff, and I was started having a contraction. And another woman and her daughter had came by, and she was like, "Baby girl," she's like, "your sister won't be here for a while," and she's just like shaking her head, laughing. Like every time we go into the store, she wants to go to the baby section to get something for her sister. And I was like, "Oh, that's so cute." She's like, I keep telling her we have like a little bit of time to go, and I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah." It's like I actually started having contractions today myself. I said, but this like pressure in my butt is like crazy. And she looked at me and said, "Pressure where?" And I was like in my butt and in my back. She said, "Sis, I need you to go home." And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, I need you to go home right now." I said, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Wait, where are you giving birth at?" So I told her where I was, and she said, "Yeah, I'm gonna need you to go home." She said, "If you would have said it's like the hospital that we were close to," she said, "I would have been like, oh, okay, you good, but you gotta go far away. I'm gonna need you to go home." I said, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and check out. So where my car was parked for this Target, it had 2 floors, so I had to go back up the steps, go back up the escalator to go check out and be closer to my car. So I needed to go check out. By the time I was checking out, I think this is when active labor actually kicked in for me. Crazy, right? Because it had only been maybe about 3-ish hours almost at this point that I started to feel them the way I was feeling them. But I had to go to the bathroom. So I walked to my car to go put the stuff in the car. And by the time I was into the car, I had to literally stop, hold myself against the car, wait till the contraction passed, and then try to walk back. Okay. Then I get to the bathroom. This bathroom is atrocious, first and foremost. And I meant to tell them about this because, listen, okay? It was atrocious. But I had to go. And the whole time I'm trying to go to the bathroom, I'm like having a contraction. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm like holding on to the bar. Because like at this point in my pregnancy, I was going into the bigger stalls so I can have the handlebars. And I was in there. I was holding on to the handlebars, trying to have the contraction. Made it through that, went out there to go wash my hands. I had to take a second before I started washing my hands. So I washed my hands, and take a second with that, and had to take another second to dry my hands. It was a mess. I was just like, what is going on? So then I made it back to my car, still having these contractions, and I'm just like, oh my God. But of course, me, if you guys don't know, I'm a first-time mom. So at this point now, I'm like, okay, I know I was in active labor, but at that point, I'm thinking, oh my God, these contractions are crazy. What the hell is going on? And at this point, the midwife has still not called me back. And I'm just like, yo, what is going on? So by the time I got in the car, I said, okay, I think I'm going to make it. I started the car up, and as I was pulling off, I called my husband. At this point, I became vocal. I could not even say hello. He answered the phone, "Are you okay?" And all he hear is, I can't even do it. I became vocal, okay? I became vocal because you was coming. I became so vocal. And he's like, okay, so we're doing this. I think he was still at work at this point. So he had called to the regional again and said, hey, Joia's in labor. I'm going to go. So he left and came home. And he's like, where are you at? So at this point, this was like when the contraction didn't fully go away. But it went down enough that I can talk. And I'm like, I was at the Target picking up my order. And then, oh my God, it's coming again. So I'm like having another one. I was trying to take a breath, trying to talk to him, try to breathe through the contraction while driving, by the way. And and he was like, oh my God. He's like, do you need me to come and get you? So at this point, I was at a red light. And I'm like, yes, I need you to come get me. But then the light turned green. And for me, I don't know about y'all, but when I drive, I'm looking like way ahead of me. So all the lights in front of me were all green. Traffic was flowing. I said, no, I think I can make it. So this is me. Hopefully you can see me. I was like driving like this because this is the only way I was going to make it. Because the pressure in my butt and my back, like, oh my God, I had the heated seats on and everything, but nothing would help. Like, sitting hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. So I said, yeah, no. I said, no, I think I can make it. I think I make it. So I ended up making it like a couple lights down at this point before I had to stop again. So then at this point, I decided to turn my hazards on. And every time I had to actually stop the car or came to a light, I put it in park. Because I was so afraid that my foot was going to hit the gas accidentally during a contraction and I was going to be in an accident. So yeah, I did that the whole time home, leaning on my side, holding on to the steering wheel with their life, moaning and groaning. My husband's still on the phone with me. He's trying to talk me through it. I'm trying to tell him where stuff is so he can pack it. We didn't have the car seat in the car yet. My bag wasn't packed. The baby bag wasn't fully packed. Stuff wasn't washed. It was a mess, okay? A mess. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, so hubby's at home. He's still on the phone with me. And he's like, trying to figure out where my stuff was. I was finally able to voice it enough to him to let him know where the stuff at that I wanted to take with me was. But of course it wasn't all of the stuff. I told him to grab the baby bag, grab the stroller, it was a stroller car seat, combo. So he had to grab the car seat and the base out of there so he can put it in his car. He was doing that while I was just trying to breathe through the contractions and get home safely. So I finally was approaching the house. I was I was able to tell him that I was getting close. And the first spot that I saw, which was easy literally for me to just pull in, was on the corner. I just pulled in. I had to put the car in park. He's like, all right, I'll be in my car and I'll just pull up next to you so you can get in my car and we can go. So I pulled up, put the car in park, turned it off. I was having a contraction. He got to the car. He opened up my door, helped me get in his car before I started having another contraction. Grabbed what bags. I got out of there. Because mind you, I only went to one Target. I didn't even go to the second Target. And he got the bags out my car, threw them in his car, and then we was on our way. So mind you, remember when I said that we talked about people being at the birth center. So I had sent a text with all the information to those 3 people and was like, yeah, not thinking that it was going to be today. But I was texting my one friend who was coming and I sent her a screenshot of the timer thing. Cause I was like, yeah, I was like, they're kind of few and far between. This was she's like, oh yeah, I think you probably still got some time. But this was on my way to Target. So this was still relatively early on, I think before things really kicked into gear. And we got in the car, we on our way. He calls the birth center again to talk to the midwife on call. So the person who answered the phone was like, okay, I'm gonna put the message through. They should call you back soon. And they call right back and they can literally hear me. And it's like, okay, she's in labor. And they say, okay, well, listen, if she starts to push, you need to pull over. You need to call 911 or whatever. So he's like, okay, but we're going to try to make it. He's like, okay, and we'll see you guys when we get here. So at that point, my friend also called because I guess she had texted me and I hadn't replied back. And when she called my husband and she was like, oh shoot, she really in labor. He was like, yeah. He said, so I'll let y'all know what they say when we get to the birth center. So like, okay, cool. So he driving. He's like, he wasn't trying to break too many laws, but he did do a little bit of something the closer we got to the birth center. And he was just like, just keep breathing. And he's trying to calm me down while trying to be calm and drive. And I was holding on to the bar up here, laying on my side because I couldn't I couldn't be on my butt directly. Oh my God, that. So yeah, so I know he's he giving me okay, we almost there. We're such and such place. And I'm like, okay, and I'm just trying to breathe through it. It literally felt like a vice grip was around. It literally felt like around my groin area where the uterus was. That's what contractions felt like to me. It just felt like something was squeezing it from the front, from the sides, and from the back. All I felt was it in my butt and my back. I don't recall like touching my stomach and feeling it be hard. Like I don't recall that at all. Um, I may or may not have. I don't even know. Um, but all I felt was like the pain in my groin, the uterus contracting, but I just felt it very low. Um, so I know he pulled through as we was pulling up. He started beeping the horn. I remember that, and we pulled into the spot. They came out to the car and met us, and the midwife who was there was like, "Are you getting any breaks?" And I'm like, "No." And she said, "Okay, well let's try to get you out the car." As soon as she said that, I felt fetal ejection. She said, "Oh yes, come on, let's hurry and get you inside." So, because at first they was going to try to get the wheelchair rigged in. He was like, I think when he got out the car and said that, he was like, I don't even think it's going to work for her. So we ended up just walking in. So I was just supported, one person on each side of me support me to walk inside. It was only like a couple of steps because he ended up parking right in front of the steps where you go in for the birth suites. So we walked inside and said, okay, let's get your clothes off. So everybody was like helping me take my clothes off. At this point, it was an out of body experience. It was like I was feeling things, but I was like not there. And I remember when she said, okay, Joia, she's like, I'm going to check you now. And I remember saying okay, and I had my eyes closed. And all I could think of was, dear God, please, please, let me be at least 5 centimeters, because I don't know how much longer I can go through this. I don't know how much longer I can go through this, because a part of my birth plan was to have an unmedicated birth, unmedicated vaginal birth. That's what I wanted. So I was praying to heavens, because at this point I was like, I don't know how much longer I could take this. Okay, I don't even know if this is even going to be a thing for me. But on my birth plan itself, and I implore you, whether you're doing a birth center, home birth, or in a hospital, and my birth center itself called it a birth hopes and dreams versus a birth plan, because you can't plan birth. You can't. You can say, oh, I wanted to do like this, and it's going to do the complete opposite, okay? So I like that it was called birth hope and dreams. But what I did put on there was I was okay with whatever position worked. If me being on my back was the best position and it was getting the baby out, I was doing that. If me being on all fours or being on my side or being in the tub or being on the toilet or squatting down, whatever it was, I was wanted to do it. So she was going in to check me, and she said, you're 7 centimeters. I didn't say it out loud because I think at this point I was too exhausted to do anything. But in my head, I said, thank you, God. So I was 7 centimeters and I was 100% effaced. Okay. And all I was thinking was, we are almost at the finish line. Jesus, thank you. And at this point, this was like just after 5. I think we got there like 5:05. So maybe they start checking me 5:10, 5:15 or something like that. And they said, well, Joia, do you want to get in the tub? And I was like, yes, because I was hoping that the water was going to help soothe me. So they, filling the tub up for me. They assist me in there. I did have to go to the bathroom. So they assist me to the toilet. I used the toilet. Then I got into the tub. It did nothing. I think I was able to sit for maybe 2 minutes. Because at this point, I don't even know what time is. Time is a lucid thing. It was flowing freely. I had no idea what was going on. Okay, I had no time, no concept of time at this point. But for me, maybe I'm going to say it felt like 2 minutes. Okay, I don't know if it was longer or shorter, but it felt like 2 minutes. Where I sat down, and I was like, no, I gotta get up, and I was like on my side, and then I was on all fours, and then at this point, I remember hearing my mom come in. And she's like, oh, my baby's having a baby. And I distinctly remember and I said to her, I don't know how you did this full time. Yeah. So I was in there. I don't know how much longer, but I gotta get out. I gotta get out. I gotta get out. And I'm still having a fetal ejection. Now, in case you don't know, this is literally your body trying to push the baby out on its own. You're not actively trying to push the baby out. Your body is doing it on its own. And I'm feeling this again. And I said, oh, I need to go to the bathroom again. I need to go to the bathroom. At this point, I get back out the tub. I get on the toilet. And again, I have no concept of time, so I don't really know how much time passed. But I'm gonna tell you in a second. You'll kind of get a sense maybe how much time had passed at this point. Um, at this point, um, I started to have a more of the bloody show. And I'm still in the toilet and I still feeling the fetal ejection. So at the birth center, there was a nurse who stayed with me all the time, and then a midwife who kind of was floating between the rooms. I think it was like one other family in there for birth at that time, the same time as us. So the nurse was like, well, let me get the midwife to come back in here and check you again. So she checked me when I was on the toilet. I was 9.5 centimeters. Yeah. She said, well, you may be able to start pushing if you want. One of the things that I did put on my birth hope and dreams as well is that I wanted to wait until I started to have the fetal ejection, hoping that my body would automatically do that. Because one of the things that I just kind of like thought about in regards to the whole birth aspect, and seeing the stuff on TV and what I experienced, like the little bit of experience that I had in nursing school, that they start having you push when you're at like the -2 station. And if I could put a picture in here, I'll kind of like show you, like the -2 station, and you had to push from -2 all the way to like +2, 3. That's a lot, and I did not want to do that because I did not want to be exhausted. I didn't want to exhaust myself any more than I was already going to be exhausted, right? So so it's okay. Well, let's get you on the bed, so you can start, like, so we can start prepping for you to push. So I remember walking back into the room. Um, they put all the pads and stuff on the bed, and they said, "Well, you want to try leaning on the ball?" So I said, "Sure." So I like went to lean on the ball. I know my mom was on my shoulders. My husband was at my hips. The nurse was at my hips, trying to like give the counter pressure. I remember screaming. Everybody stopped touching me. I just felt overstimulated. I know at some point his mom had came in. I don't even remember when exactly she had came in, and there for like non-pharmacological um, ways to manage pain. They had the nitrous oxide, so I had asked if I can try it. I tried it, and like for that, you have to actually keep the mask on and actively breathe it in for it to come out. But I felt like it was, I don't want to say suffocating me, but I just didn't like the way it felt, like trying to breathe it. It was weird. And I tried to do it a few different times to see if it would help. Oh, he's going to sleep. To see if it would help, and it wasn't. So I told him to take it away. So then at that point, the midwife came back in and checked me, and I was fully dilated, and I could start pushing. It was like, the head is right there. Like, you want to start pushing, you can start pushing. So yeah. So at this point, and at a birth center, they do intermittent monitoring of like the baby. So they just had the Doppler that they would like go and take, kept listening to, his heart rate or whatever, and it was good the entire time. You know, they took, I think they only took my blood pressure and stuff like when I first got there. And then of course in the postpartum period. So yeah, so I started to push. I kept hearing, "Oh my God, Joy, you're doing so well. The baby's almost here. Oh, you're doing great, Joya." And then at one point they did say that his heart rate had gotten low, so they needed me to really, you know, give it my all to get the baby out sooner than later. And so I know they did what they could to like help stretch me, and I was pushing. I do remember feeling, well, right before that, I touched the baby's head. That was weird. So you gonna touch the baby? Again, I'm very lucid. I remember touching, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. I felt the hair. So this is weird. Um, but you know, they did what they could to assist with the stretching, and I started to push. I remember feeling the ring of fire, and it was briefly. I can see why they call it the ring of fire, and I'm glad I didn't have to go through it much more than what I did. But then shortly after that, the baby's head was out, and then I pushed again, and then his body came out, and I heard someone say, "Oh my God, oh my God, the baby's here, Joy, you did it, you did it, you did it." And then my husband said, "Babe, we have a son. We have a son. Babe, you did so good. We have a son. We have a son." At this point, the moms are jumping up and down for joy. I'm completely out of it. I was just like, because I was so tired. And eventually I like opened my eyes and was like, oh shoot, there's a baby on me. And I was like looking, and I was just like, yo, that's crazy. But I was still out of it. Like it really took a second for everything to really kind of like register. And you know, I had put on my birth hopes and dreams that I wanted my husband to announce to the room the sex of the baby. So that's what he did. And overall, my labor was very fast and very like go, go, go. But I'm glad it was not traumatic. Because I think if it was traumatic, I would say, you know what? I ain't having no more kids. But sometime in that brief interim, I said something about a second one. So yeah. But overall though, my birth was, my labor and my birth was miraculous. It was exactly as I wanted it. It was calm like I wanted it. You know, it wasn't I mean, I didn't get a chance to set up the whole ambiance and lights and, you know, affirmations on the wall. I didn't get a chance to do any of that stuff. But I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it. I would not change it. And I'm so blessed to have this little boy. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm so blessed to have you. I'm so blessed to have you. So yeah, that is my birth story. If I can encourage anyone, I would say if you, whether you have reservations or not, or just want to know your options, to look into giving birth at a birth center. I know I mean, in my area, the only one I knew of was the one that I went to. So in the area that I'm in, there was only knew of one. But I would say, look, I know when I was reading the birth plan book, It literally talked about women traveling from even overseas to Tennessee for that birth center in there. So I would say that if you are interested, to definitely take a look. He's getting getting sleepy, so we about to go night night. But yeah, that is my birth story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is gonna be fun because I just been recording this entire time, even with breaks. So it's gonna be fun to try to upload, especially with all the 1,000,001 pictures and photos I done taken since he's been born. This should be fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've been sticking around for a while, thank you so much for sticking around. I appreciate you. If you're new, hi, welcome. He says hi too. And I hope to see you guys in another video real soon. Bye.